Hello, I believe we are live. Let's see. Yeah, my phone is live at least. Welcome. I'm trying to do this live. I have no idea if anyone will show up or if it would be interesting at all. Yeah, the reason I decided to go live is I've been wanting to talk about this topic, like to make a video on it. But I decided like, hey, why not go live, see if there will be any discussion happening on this. And yeah, I just want to give my thoughts. Everything I will say will be based on my experience. It will be my opinions. Just want to get that out of the way, and I will try to keep an eye on the chat as well. Yes, I don't know how much the round trip latency is, but so I think it should be set to ultra low, so should be some flow on it. So, who am I? My name is Árni. I'm an audio engineer that live in Akureyri, Iceland. If you watch my channel, you should know that by now. I've been working professionally as an audio engineer for around 15 years now, and I've been mainly working as venue tech, but I've been doing festivals and bar gigs and one-offs and whatever. So, I believe I have a pretty wide experience, at least compared to my market, which is Iceland. But I've also been going abroad to work at the festival, so I have some insight from that side as well. Sorry, I'm getting some messages. So, like, yeah, why did I want to make this video? I just want to talk about splitters in general, especially like my market has been a lot about self-contained in-ear setups, which is I've been doing with my band. We play as a pub cover band, and we've been building our own setup. And I actually made some videos on that topic. But there's a lot of discussions on the on Facebook and Reddit and other medias about how to do splits and why should we do a split. You can just do it via cat. Just plug one cable into the front of us. There are a few different ways to split things, and when I'm talking about split, I'm saying to get a microphone or an audio source into two consoles, generally being a monitor mixer, which will be doing in-ear setup for the band, and then two front of house, which will be mixing out front. Why? Because lots of bands now, especially these days, they're running their own in-ear setups and they want to be able to mix themselves and to have control over all their mixes. You probably know that by now. I have seen a lot of people saying, oh, it's no problem, you just connect to front of house via Cat 5 and give them AES50 or whatever platform they have. I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't do that and when you can do that. So in generally what will happen on a show, if I'm working at a festival, there will be a splitter, so all the microphone inputs will go to both the front of house and the monitor consoles. There will usually be some operators on both sides, either provided by the venue or festival or by the bands themselves. In some cases there will be a digital split happening on those festivals, which means that the front of house and monitor desks will be sharing gain. And a lot of the consoles today, they can do gain compensation in some way or form, which means that one of the console, usually the monitor console, will have control of the gain, and if monitors will change the gain, front of house will know, and the desk will automatically trim it up or down. So to the front of house engineer, the gain change is pretty much invisible. And there are use cases for this where this makes sense. A few years ago I was actually in Yamaha headquarters in Europe when they had just launched the PM10, and I was having a discussion because they were all saying how great their gain compensation is, and I'm coming from a Midas Pro Series background where I've been working a lot with the DL431 dual mic preamps, which is a box from e.t.c, which has 24 inputs, and inside the box there's a transformer, and there are 2 preamps and 2 converters inside one box. And on the 431 there's also an output on the front, which is the third output, so there's a 3-way transformer built into the box. There's also the 231, I believe, which is only the 2 preamps and does not have the third output. So anyway, I was having this discussion with the guy showing us the Yamaha PM10. I was saying like just stop putting the effort into gain compensation. Just build this box like e.t.c does, that has 2 gains and essentially solves this problem. Where was I going? It's hard to do this thing live, because when I'm doing videos I can always edit them, and yeah, I do edit a lot, so you have to forgive me. Can I see? Right. So there are reasons to do gain sharing, which is usually cost, and especially if you have 2 engineers that are working together. What the Yamaha guy said is gain sharing isn't a problem if you have 2 adults on both sides of the snake. Meaning, if there are 2 qualified operators on each console, gain sharing isn't a problem, which is true. But the thing is, when you have bands running self-contained setups, you don't really have that. You don't have an operator on the band side doing stuff. It's usually a band member, and it's usually set and forget. Thing is, like, I play in a band when we have our own inner setup, and as I said before, I've been working professionally as an audio engineer before, and once I start playing, I stop being an audio engineer. I can't focus on both things at once. Like, I will try to make some minor adjustments in between songs if I can. Like, we're playing pubs, so we're playing a 3 to 4 hour set. Usually there's almost no stop between the songs, just to keep the flow going. So when I'm a bass player, I'm not an audio engineer. I can't be both at once. At least I can't be and do both things well. So, which means that there isn't a responsible adult on that side in that case. Where was I going? Sorry. But for a festival setup, there will be operators. There will usually be operators on both sides. The thing is, like, people keep giving advice on Reddit and in YouTube comments, like, just, especially with the X32 platform, which is very big, X32 and Wing, it's just, you can just do a digital split and do just give front of house a cable if the system is compatible, which is point number 1. If you have your own setup and you're counting on that your system is compatible with whatever the venue has, like, then you're making assumptions which will probably cause issues for you at some point. If you had 2 desks yourself, you were traveling with an inner rack and a front of house rack, sure, we could make it work. But I did a show recently where the band had their own SQ5, and I just got a digital split from them into an SQ5 I had, which was fine. It made the show easier for everyone. But once the band started playing, almost all of the drum inputs, the preamps were clipping, and I couldn't do anything about it. I was just at front of house mixing. I could have ran on stage and messed with their gains, but that would also mean that I would be messing with mixes of all band members, which is not something I was comfortable doing. So I just had to sit through the whole show with the gains set higher than I wanted them. Because, as I said before, once you're playing, you're not mixing. Like, there's stuff that happens on stages, like the band, it's almost always more powerful during the show than they are during soundcheck. So if you set all your gains during soundcheck and then you start playing, there's no one actively monitoring those inputs and just checking what's happening. So if you're doing a digital split, front of house is just getting what you're sending, and there's no one watching it. But you are indeed, someone is getting paid to be a mixer, to monitor those things, but you've essentially taken that power away from that person. It's the same thing. Like, I've seen a lot of people suggesting with the with the wing, especially, to use the I don't remember if it's Midas or Clark technique, the DN4816O, which is a 16 output, just 16 accelerators via stage connect. And people have been saying, oh, you can just get this and you have like a cheap and easy digital split. Well, you do, but the problem is that all of those outputs will be post gain from the mix, from the console that no one is actively monitoring. So if something happens, if a mic gets kicked around, or if some changes happen on stage after soundcheck or after when the gains are set, there's no way for the front of house engineer to actually fix the problem. So then we come back to it, like, just do splits, please. And I feel like a lot of people giving these advices Tom Court is saying regain a mix station can save you in that situation, turns down all the faders, proposing to change the preamp. Yeah, it does, but I wasn't connected to the console of the band, because that's not my job. My job is mixing out front. So I know like Mixing Station has this awesome feature, which just to explain, regain on Mixing Station, which is a third-party app. I've talked about it at least once and made a small video on it. What regain does is it allows me to change the gain, the input gain on channel, and it will compensate on all of the sends. So regain is a way for someone to remotely change the gain. But the thing is, if a band has a self-contained setup, I'm not a part of it. So I won't have access to that setup. And I don't want access to that setup, because I don't want them to be able to blame me for anything if something goes wrong. Like, oh, you were messing with our stuff. Like, it's not my job. My job is to make sure the band sounds as good as possible out front. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been saying, oh, you can just get this digital output, or you can just do a digital split. I feel like almost none of those people are professional working audio engineers. It's mostly band members and weekend warriors. But if you talk to an actual professional in the profession, just please listen to what we have to say. So on splits, there's essentially, if you're going to analog splits, there are essentially three ways to do it. There's just a wire split or a Y split, which is basically just, wait, I actually think I have that. So this is a split. It's a female XLR in, two XLR out, and all of the wires, like pin 1 is pin 1 and pin 2 is 2, 3. This is just a split. And what a 24 or 64 or 48 channel wire split is, it's essentially, yeah, however many of these bundled together inside the box. And for most situations, this will be just fine. And I'll talk about that a bit later. There's also the transformer split, which means that you will have an audio transformer which usually has a direct out. So there's a main out, which is the direct, which does not go through the transformer, and then there are usually one or two outputs on the other side of the transformers. And if you know how a transformer works, it's basically a wire wrapped around the coil, and there will be magnetism, and another pair of wires wrapped around the same coil will be able to output a duplicate of that signal. I'm not an electrical engineer, and you'll just have to Google that if you want to know in detail. What the transformer does is it isolates the signals, so there are essentially there are no wires touching between the two circuits. So it's an isolated, it's galvanic isolation, it's called. I don't even know what galvanic means, but so that will give you an isolated output. There's also an active split, which has some circuitry in it, and that will usually provide phantom power. Some active splits, they will sense phantom power coming into them, and they will output their own, just basically as a relay. I worked at the festival where there's an active split, and the patch guy takes care of all the phantom power, and that's amazing. No one has to think about that. There are some cheap splits available on the market. There's the Behringer MS8000. I haven't actually used that one, and there's also the I had the Millennium MS8 the other day around, and I was just messing around with it, just seeing if I could measure, because those units cost like $50 to $70, and for an 8-channel transformer in a box. If I were going to try to share my screen here, so these are audio transformer, and they are 96 euros, like the cheapest one. So if you're getting 8 channels for like $60, there's something you're not getting, obviously. I haven't actually done a proper comparison, but I did see Dave Rat is planning on doing some comparison between transformers. Like this is the Lundal transformer, which is very popular as a mic splitter transformer. There is also Whirlwind also make their own. I think it's one input, one output. That one is $141 for a single channel. As I said, if you're paying $50 for an 8-channel, I just have to believe that you are actually losing some audio quality. There will be something, some drawbacks to it. I did test out the MS8 when I had it the other day. I was set it up to smart, and I was trying to measure what will happen. And I was able to get it to distort by sending a hot signal into it, but that was essentially a line level signal just going full scale out of my audio interface. So which is obviously like 20 to 40 to 50 dB hotter than a microphone signal would be. So maybe it's fine for microphones, but what if it isn't? Like what if this cheap transformer is actually causing lots of is degrading the audio of your signal chain? So with wire splits like this one, back in the old days, as people say, you would usually have an analog snake going to front of house, which would maybe be a 100-meter cable going to front of house, and front of house would be a totally different power supply and all that. Today, almost always you will have a digital stage box on stage, and your setup will be right next to it, maybe 5 meters in between it. So it will be on the same power distro. So the problems that audio transformer solved, it isn't really such of a problem anymore. And there is a thread I noticed from ProSoundWeb. I'm going to actually see if I can link that into the chat here. Yes. So this thread, like someone is just asking like what I need, and Brian Maddox, which is like, we share a community, online community, the Signal to Noise Discord server. I've talked to him. He says that like he has almost in 20 years of audio experiences, he has almost never had any issues with just doing wire splits. You can just read the whole thread. I really recommend just reading it, because like I've said before, like I don't really like solving problems that I don't have. So, and I believe and I feel that for lots of situations, a transformer split is solving a problem I don't have compared to a wire split. If I was doing in any situation where I would need a third output for a broadcast truck, that will usually be a truck maybe running on its own power supply on a different generator. That's when I would want a transformer split. But for the most of the venue stuff that I am doing and I'm around, it hasn't been a problem just doing a plain old wire split. And I was trying to gather some data before making a video on this topic, and like, yeah, because transformer transformer, they have a sound. They're built differently and they will affect sound, but it's just depending on the spec of the transformer if it's relevant to what you're doing. So what I just want to show, like I had the MS, what did I say it was called? The MS something. I'm gonna show you a photo of it. I think. So here's the thing. I had it around and I of course opened it up to see what was inside it. It has a transformer, it has no labels, so I was trying to see if I can figure out what it was doing. And this has some circuitry, it has a pad on the output, and this is just a pretty standard, it's a Millennium something from, which is the Tomon brand. And it has like a ground lift, it has input linking, and it has minus 40 dB on the transformer output. But it is 2 kilos for 8 channels. So I'm going to write that number down. So because for my setup, I want to try to keep stuff as compact as I can, and for people as flying and traveling, like to spend 4 kilos on a transformer split for 16 channel, it's a lot. Like, and if you have 24 channels, that's 6 kilos just on the piece of device you have there. I'm actually going to show you something. So I am planning a project to building a 16 channel split for one of my racks. I have a Midas DL153, which is a 16 by 8 box in a 2 rack U, and I want to build a 16 channel split for that. And I'm going to do that using these 8 pair cables. This is the SS Snake multi-core from Tomon. This is the 8 channel 3 meter version. I'm just gonna see if I can how much this weighs. Actually, I want to need something. So this is the whole cable at 520 grams. And I would need 2 of those for 16 channel output. But the thing is, if I had something like the MS8 or the MS8 or the MS8000, but Behringer, I would still need those because I don't want to be the band that shows up to a venue with a split, but the venue needs to supply me with 16 XLR cables. So if I'm showing up to a venue with a split, I better have the damn cables. So that's 1 kilo for the cables, so that's 500 grams per 8 channels. So every 8 channels with a transformer split is 2.5 kilos. For 8 kilos, that's 5 kilos for 16 channels. Yeah, you can do the math. What I'm actually planning on doing is taking a few of those. Actually, it's not Ethicon. It's not Ethicon this time, but I see what you're getting at. I'm actually not going to do this Ethicon, but this is a 16 channel 1U rack. This weighs 170 grams. These are, I believe, 15 XLR connectors. There's one in here. Yeah, this is 170 grams with 1 XLR connectors. And this should be the rest of the connectors for this box, which is 550 grams. believe me, I've thought about doing Ethicon splits, but if you have 16 channels, that's still like 4 breakouts, and it's a bit annoying. I do actually have planned to do a split involving Ethicon for our setup, which will take the Ethicon, it will loop them through the split, and it will pull out just the 2 lines from each Ethicon that I'm using, and will output that as a tail, and it will loop through our rack. If I ever do have a show where we will need a split, which might happen next winter, I'm going to build that. I have the idea in my head. Anyway, all of these connectors are 550 grams. These are, oh my god, it's getting crowded here. So these are cables from an old split my friend Gusti had. So that is 16 channels, and that is 16 channels with the XLR and connected, with the XLR cut off, and he actually had built a split for this. So this is just the same type of cable. This could be a 5-meter one. Let's find out. Yeah, it's a 5-meter one. So once I've cut half of the XLR connectors off, this cable is 888 grams. 888. And I would have 2 of those. And the other end, which is I believe made from the same cable, but it has just already been cut to length. So these will be hardwired into the back and then go into the panel. So that's 8 channels. So those are 265 grams. So now I'm gonna grab my calculator and just, alright, I had those 2. So that's around 2. So this is around 2.5 kilos for 16 channels with the cables. So yeah, this is almost the same. So for 16 channels of split, I have the same weight as I would have 8 channels with the MS splitter I had, and it also a lot less connectors, like because on the back of the split it would be hardwired into the thing, so there are no connectors to come loose. Of course it's handiwork doing all the soldering, but it also gives you 16 channels of split in one rack unit with the tails connected on both sides and everything. Because like this end, you would still need to do something like this inside the rack with the other splitter. This is like 265 grams without the connector, so that's half a kilo of cables, which we should also count on with the split. So it's 3 kilos. No, it's, yeah, but you get the point. So both with doing it, of course I have to build it myself, and I have to take like one good night and just solder the whole thing, and I have to be confident in what I'm doing and all that. But this will give me so much of a lighter unit, which is also easier to use because there's the tail is already connected, plugged up, and I can have that tail any length I want. It could be 3 meters, it could be 5, doesn't matter, and it will be wired internally in a rack. So I do actually have my rack here. Yeah, so that's my 153 miles rack, and I do plan on putting the inputs here under this. So in this 3U, I will have a splitted 16 channels, and Gusti, my friend, has another one just like it, and he's planning on building a split. And in that split, he will have e.t.c inputs for his band, similar to what I have in my wing rack. Oh, are there ads? I do hope so as well. Yeah, alright. Are they advertising anything fun? So, I just want to get this out there, but my main thing is just stop doing digital splits. There is a use case is when you have adults on both sides supervising the thing, but in the situation I'm in, there won't be, and because, as I said, stuff gets moved around, things happen on stage, and you want the person that is getting paid to mix the show to be able to do it properly and not going through your setup which no one is monitoring actively. Because I know, I play in a band and I just don't have the brain capacity to think about the snare bottom mic is clipping now, or it could be a channel that no one has in their ears. It could be some of the playback stuff. There could be all sorts of issues happening. I've done a show where the left side of the keyboard went out just after soundcheck before the show, or I've had a show where there was a bad cable and the one side would be 6 dB lower, and yeah. So please stop suggesting people to do digital splits. I know it has a use case, but that is when there is someone operating both sides. And especially with the modern high-end consoles that do have gain compensation, it works, but still there are massive touring, and they should have a t-shirt with which type. Yeah, but there are massive tours touring all around, and almost all of them will have splits. Some of it will be a passive wire split, some of it will be transformer splits, some of it will be active splits. But as you can see here, and even as someone suggested, you can just use the Midas DL 4816. It's a cheap way to do a split. This is a cheap way to do a split, and let me check one thing. So I have the 4816. I use it as an output. Can I change my to euros? Country currency. I'll show you my screen in just a bit. Alright, it won't allow me to change into euros. So here you have the cheap split, which is basically the materials I have here. It's a 16 channel panel, it's 4 of these snakes, and it's the 16 connectors. This is missing the screws and stuff to put it all together. But this is 17,000 Icelandic, which is... Let's do some calculation here. What did I say? It was 17,940. This is 125 euros or $144 for a 16 channel split. Yeah, you do have to build it yourself, but hey, you actually end up with a lot of female XLR plugs which you will cut off the connectors. And this is the cheap way. This is not the most highest quality cable, and there are better cables there which are easier to use, and these cables, once you heat it up, the isolation melts a bit. These cables are a bit annoying to work with. I've built some adapters from them, and I've done stuff. So, but I'm showing you, if you want to do a cheap split, please do this. Don't get the 4816, which is heavier and it costs way more than this does. And of course, you can have these. You can buy these pre-made by many companies, but just you can save yourself a lot of money just by grabbing a soldering iron and just learning to use it and just dig into it. Of course, it's time, but just take one night where you don't sit in front of the TV to watch some nonsense and just do this. But maybe that's just my thinking. Like lots of the stuff I'm doing, I do during the evenings when my kids are sleeping or where I'm not going anywhere. But I hope this has given you some insights, and I hope that people will stop suggesting to do digital splits and just asking how easy it is or telling how easy it is, because no professional audio engineer wants that. I'm telling you, just listen to me. Like there could be some guy who sometimes mixes at a church who thinks it's not an issue, and of course, if you show up with a split into a venue, the sound guy is not going to make a fuss about it because he knows the band is already here, they already have this, we ain't going to change it, and we can make it work, but please don't think of it as a solution. It's a workaround, not a solution. I don't think I have much to add to that. I will build this split at some point and I will make a video. Are there any questions from the chat? Or is there anyone actually watching? Guess not. But anyway, Baldur's still here. Yes, yeah, and on labels, please. It's a very good point. When I did my wing rack part 2, I always say please do both channels name and numbers, because I did work at a festival one day where a band brought their huge rack which had all their playback stuff and all their in-ears, and they had given me an input list which was like 20 channels. Their input list, it had like channel 1 is kicked through, it was a list. So I took their tails and I figured out, alright, this is the first one, so I plugged that up 1 to 8, and then the next one was 9 to 16. And then soundcheck started, and nothing was in the correct spot, because the kick was their input channel 1, and then came the snare, but the snare wasn't channel 2 in their snake, so I had to actually read all the names and match it to the input list, because when I was making my festival input list, I just, alright, this band needs 16 inputs, and I have labeled them according to their input list. And then they showed up with 16 channels of tails, which I had to read, and oh yeah, this is tail 5, which is bass, which is channel 7. So I just plugged it all up correctly, and I grabbed some piece of gaffer tape, and I just taped all of it, because then we were doing a changeover, it was a sound check, then I had to unplug it, get them off stage, plug it back in during the evening. Please put both numbers and names, because when I'm connecting it up, unless I'm mixing and matching it into a festival patch, I'm working at the Roskilde Festival, and we always do a patch according to the input lists. So I want to be able to send any stagehand or patch guy, take these 16 channels, plug them 1 to 16 without thinking, and then they will appear into my desk as they have on their list. Yeah, and I'm still working big festivals, and especially now with more and more bands bringing their own in-ears. It's so common that they will ask the venue to provide a split for them, which is, I get it, but so many venues or festivals, they don't have it. I was working at one of the biggest festivals in Iceland last weekend, and they didn't have a proper 3-way split. My thought is that every proper festival stage or venue should have at least 48 channels of 2 or 3-way split, depending on what they're doing, because yeah, it just works. And also, if all goes bad, like if some channels die, like what if your rack gets unplugged, or if you have a problem, like what are you going to do? Like if I bring up to a gig, I've traveled all across the country, and my rack is dead. Like, what then? If I had a split, at least front of house would be ready. But if I was counting on doing a ditch, I don't have to preach it. But with the numbers, please put channel names and numbers. Like when I was doing the Wing Rack Part 2 video, I unplugged all the inputs to grab the rack out, and then when I was plugging it back in, I was just able to grab any channel and look, okay, this is channel 5, that goes into input 5. This is channel 12, that goes into input 12. I did not have to think about the channel names or numbers, because yeah, they were all labeled 1 to 1. So if it had just been labeled, okay, channel 12, if it only had been labeled vocals, like I would have to figure out or check a list or do whatever to see, okay, which channel is that again? Instead of just, I was able to plug up the whole rack, just 1 to 24, without thinking about the inputs. And I could grab any tail, like I could grab just any channel. Okay, now I have channel 5, that can go into 5, instead of having to search for the next channel. Because if you're going to a list, it's just, so have a split, build it, buy it, I don't care. Have the tails available and have them labeled like channel 1 is kick, and channel 1 is kick, no matter what you say. Always channel 1 is kick. It's like I'm part of this Stage Plot Facebook group, and like, please, it's drums, bass, guitars, keys, usually like miscellaneous vocals. It's the way it is, and it's the way it's been for years. And just please follow the standard procedure, and always inputs go from house left to house right. Same with wedges. I can never get, like, why would you have wedge number 1 on the far right side, because that's closest to the monitor engineer. But for me, vocal mic 1 goes into wedge 1, vocal mic 2 goes into wedge 2, and so on. So just make life easier for everyone. And the same with writers and input lists. Like, if you need more Dave in your monitor, I don't know who Dave is or what he does, but that's a totally different topic. Yeah, I will probably make a video on some monitor etiquette at some point. I don't remember how many times I've seen people, like, they talk to me and they point at their wedge, like, yes, like, what about your wedge? You don't have to tell me, I need, like, him in my wedge. Like, I know, just, you need him up or down, just tell me that. And do you need this guitar, or do you need the vocals? I'm getting off topic. I think I'll just end this stream now. We're at, what is it, 43 minutes. There were no questions. This will probably stay on my channel, and yeah, I might go live again at some point if there's interest. I might even have some guests, who knows. But I will continue to preach, and I'm annoying, and I've chased this stuff on Reddit and Facebook, and just, please don't do digital splits. Like, there is a use case for it when you have operators on both sides, and there is gain compensation and whatever. But if you're a self-contained band traveling with your own inner setup, coming into whatever situation, just build, buy, make, I don't care, just bring a split, have it labeled, have the cables. Don't bring just XLR outputs, because a typical venue does not have like 16 short XLR cables lying around after they wired up the whole stage. And there's nothing more annoying than just a huge pile of cables, because no one will have the time to label it, and then something breaks, you'll have to troubleshoot it, whatever. Just, and the same good thing, if you're building a 16 channel split, like, make sure your input count isn't 16. Like, have spares, because stuff will break. If you have a 32 channel input list, try to make a 34, or at least just, if you have your split at full capacity, like, have 2 of these around in case there's a dead channel in the split, that you can solve the problem. like until you can fix it. But like, yeah, just be smart about it, and please share this video stream. Like it's a bit what everything I said could probably have been boiled down to like 4 minutes, and I might do a recap video of this live stream, but I just wanted to get this thing out there. And please just share this with your buddies, and if you see any I know I'm being like a bit annoying, but if you see anyone suggesting people, oh, just you can do a digital split, like, no, wait a minute, like, think about it. Like, are you a musician or are you an audio engineer? Is someone getting paid to do the job? Don't take that job from them. Like, yeah, I'm gonna call it here. It was nice to at least have some viewers and some comments. I'll probably do this again at some point, and I will definitely build this split soon. Like, I have all the materials here on my table. Did I ever calculate the total weight? No, it doesn't matter that much. I will do the weight comparison once I make a video on the split itself, and I will show it how it's built into the rack and how it's all just fits nice and how it's easy. Alright, I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.